Yeah.
Coach, happy Thanksgiving.
To all.
Jinx. Let's just start. I mean, how's the time off been for your team as far as injuries and kind of working on what you need to get done?
Well, it's been good for us to kind of focus on us. I felt like having so many games clumped together there, it was difficult to work on fundamentals every single day. You're always preparing for the next team. So we've had an opportunity in the last week to really try to focus on some areas of great weakness. And maybe not so much fun for the players while we're trying to work on our weaknesses. But, you know, you have to be able to lay a foundation and develop some good habits so that you can win down the road. And I think that's what we've been doing. As far as injuries go, we got our share. You know, we were down to 9 players today on a 17-player roster. So, you know, we're feeling it. And I guess on the plus side, it gives some players that normally don't have a ton of minutes in games, it gives them a lot more looks for me to see them because they don't have a sub in practice. So they're having to get after it. And, you know, I'm used to playing myself personally, being on an 8-person rotation. So we're not far away from that at the moment. But hopefully we'll get some bodies back here and be able to have a few more than what we're currently holding at when we go to Arizona State.
We knew you were pretty banged up, you know, before that last road trip. Are there any? What are some of the new ones? There's obviously.
Yeah, well, Janae Irvin banged heads in the Illinois game, and so she required stitches. Fortunately for us, they had a physician right there at the game, and he was able to stitch her up. And but she was concussed as well, so she's been out of practice since then. And Christine Martin's been dealing with some back issues, and she's still dealing with back issues. Nicole Allison is still out. Ari Elagato is still out. Obviously, Christina Santiago is gone for the year, but she'll have surgery after she goes through final exams. So hopefully, you know, her recovery will start relatively soon.
As far as what are those areas of great weakness that you mentioned that, you know, you guys
rebounding. Yeah, we're really struggling. We had a lot of trouble with post defense, and really our first 2 games, Fresno State was a very, very good basketball team. They killed us on the boards, but they don't really have an inside presence, and so it wasn't as exposed as much as it was against a great post player at LMU and great All-American candidate at Illinois. But it was really telling in those 2 games in particular. So we've been working on post defense and rebounding. I'll spend half the practice on just rebounding, and doggone, we're going to get good at it. I don't care if that's the only thing we do in practice. We may not shoot the basketball for a while, but we're going to be good rebounders.
Hey, Coach. The Fresno State game was, by all accounts, a real good game for you guys, a team that had a lot of success last year. And then a couple of tough losses. I mean, what has been the – you mentioned rebounding and some defense, but, I mean, what's been the turnaround since, you know, the first 2 wins of the season?
Well, I don't necessarily think it's a turnaround. I think that, again, the opponents that we faced didn't really expose our weaknesses defensively as far as interior defense or expose our inconsistency in rebounding as much as our last 2 opponents did. Our last 2 opponents, in my opinion, were far superior to our first 2 opponents, although Fresno State's a very good basketball team, and they're just a different team. They're very perimeter-oriented. We did a great job with defending them. But when it came down to, okay, if the referees aren't going to just call hand checks, and they'll call hand checks, but they won't call, like, bashing. When we give up 20 pounds to our opponent, that's where you see it. And, you know, we've got to become a stronger team, even though we can't win the heavyweight bout. We're kind of going against the heavyweights. We're doing the middle or lightweights versus the heavyweights. And on rebounding and in post play and specifically, that's where our weaknesses really are showing up. In the past, we were kind of able to cover it up a little bit with Santiago because she was so quick. She could get around people, but not having her has really exposed that weakness.
Yeah, with Christina out, you know, and a couple of big losses, I mean, and the injury starting to mount, I mean, how do you prevent this thing from, like, snowballing and really, you know, taking a negative turn for you guys just so early in the season?
Well, I think that, number one, they're a very good basketball team. There's a couple things that they're doing very poorly, and I'm addressing that. And once we get that cleaned up and become really consistent in that effort, then I think we're going to be back in the win column.
It's got to be tough, though. I mean, you know, for the ladies not to feel sorry for themselves a little bit, I guess, because, I mean, these are, injuries are just outrageous. So I mean, what's the challenge? Trying to keep a positive mind frame with these young women.
Got any ideas, Dave?
I'm not a psychologist. I do the sports on TV.
I think for us, it is what it is. There's nothing we can do as far as changing the course of the injuries that people have. They're all just kind of wacky injuries. It's nothing that we're doing. So I can't change the preparation for the team. The only thing I'm changing preparation-wise is, shorter breaks, trying to extend people's playing time right now because we don't have the luxury, in my opinion, of sub like I've been able to do in the past. So we're going to ask Rachel Clancy to play 40 minutes a game. We're going to ask, we're having some real troubles and issues personnel-wise at the point guard position. Wells was out last week as well with the flu, so we're kind of slim at that position at the moment. And so, Desiree Johnson, come on, stay healthy for us at the moment. So, it is what it is. We're going to try to anchor down and do the best we can in improving the areas that we can take care of, and keep believing that the sun's going to shine tomorrow. And this is all preparation. In my opinion, we could have easily been 1-3 at this stage. So we're actually a little bit ahead of where I thought we might be. So it's not bad.
All right. And then just in the immediate future, talk about Arizona State, your opponent, and the tournament, the set of games you're coming up here, and what you hope to accomplish in the immediate future.
Yeah, well, Arizona State's a great ball club. Obviously, they've been to the NCAA tournament tons of times. I haven't seen them on tape yet. When I'm just looking at stats for them, Riverside gave them a great game at Riverside, and they've been in some really tight games. If there's any kind of weakness for them, it looks like maybe they're not shooting the ball particularly well from the three-point line, maybe because they don't have to. But that might give us an idea about some different strategy that we can employ to try to make them shoot the ball from the outside a little bit more. So, we've got our work cut out for us for sure, but I think that there's little gaps that we can maybe take advantage of. They've got some great post play. They're just huge, and we might have to counter with trying to go as big as we can as well.